Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Natasha and we are here for another BorrowBox live event, and I am so looking forward to my chat with award-winning best-selling author Kate Atkinson. I am here in Melbourne and Kate is currently in Edinburgh, Scotland. And just some quick housekeeping before we begin. The first half of the session is going to be myself in conversation with Kate, and then we're going to invite you, the audience, to ask your questions for the second half. And you can do that via the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, which a lot of you have located already. And if you are going to ask a question, we would love to know which library you are a member of, and perhaps you are actually watching with an entire library group, so you can let us know if it's a group question. We'd love to answer and get through as many as we can for tonight. And this webinar is being recorded and will be available on our BorrowBox YouTube channel in about a fortnight, so you can share with your friends who aren't able to be here with us or just watch it again yourselves. So we try to promise that we are not going to have spoilers on book 6, which is The Death at the Sign of the Rook.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, we'll do our best. We won't get to the good. I mean, I'm glad I was able to talk to you offline about some of my favourite bits at the end. So let me introduce our guest. Kate Atkinson is one of the world's foremost novelists. She won the 1995 Whitbread Book of the Year prize with her first novel, Behind the Scenes at the Museum. Life After Life, beautiful, was made into an acclaimed BBC TV series, and it won several prizes, including the Costa Novel Award, as did A God in Ruins. 2 further historical novels, Transcription and Shrines of Gaiety, were also Sunday Times bestsellers, and she has published 2 critically acclaimed collections of short stories, Not the End of the World and Normal Rules Don't Apply. Her best-selling literary crime series featuring Jackson Brodie started with Case Histories, then One Good Turn, When Will There Be Good News, and Started Early, Took My Dog. And these were adapted into a BBC TV series starring Jason Isaacs. Jackson Brodie then returned after 9 years in 2019 with the best-selling novel Big Sky, and last year, Death at the Sign of the Rook, becoming a #1 bestseller like its predecessors. Kate Atkinson was awarded an MBE in 2011 and is a fellow of the Royal Society in Literature. So I'm a long-time fan. I actually read the first 3 Jackson Brodie novels back in 2008 with my book club. And it's just a real honor, Kate, to be talking to you today. So welcome.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm just so impressed by how many people you have and how many people are from Wales as well.
There's a lot of people in Wales, yeah. They want something to do on a cold morning. I assume it's cold. I don't know. It might be sunny there, actually. I don't know about
It's
the weather.
very sunny, but it's
Oh,
beginning
okay,
to get
it's sunny.
sunny.
Yeah, it's meant
Not
to
that
be
I'm in
cool.
Wales, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the reason why I am so glad to be talking to you and having read you for such a long time is because your work, like another favorite author of mine, Margaret Atwood, is we never know what we're going to get with you. Be it the topic or the genre, the style or the tone, you're always mixing it up. You shift from historical fiction to a bit of magic realism to crime to short stories. And all of that doesn't matter because we just know that we're going to be in safe hands. We're going to get intriguing characters and an entertaining story. And I have to say, the Rook, which I will refer to it as an abbreviated slang, being the Aussie that
It's
I
how
am.
I also refer to it. So that's good.
This just had me laughing a lot. It was just such an entertaining delight. I'm just so glad that Jackson was back with another story, Kate.
Well, he's actually there's quite a big gap between book 5, Big Sky, and this one.
Mm.
And I I I've talked about writing this forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. I mean, like 20 years I've been going, and then I'm going to write this homage to Agatha Christie, and it's going to be called Death at the Sign of the Rook. And then COVID came along and lockdown came along, and I thought this is the perfect time to write this because it would amuse me, I
Mm.
suppose, and keep me entertained. And also, I had the Lady Milton chapter. Lady Milton's a character in this book. I had her chapter for about 20 years, looking for a book to be in. And then I started writing, and I thought, oh, actually, I need a detective. I need both a kind of meta-fictional detective within the book, and I need a real detective. I have a detective. What on earth am I not going? Why wouldn't I put Jackson into this book? And so then he got into this book. So he didn't start. It didn't start off being a Jackson book. It kind of he just snuck his way in there.
I love that he finds himself like a fish out of water in this circumstance in some respects. But makes total sense for him to be there and what he brings to the story. I might just go back before we get into a deep dive into the new book, because I just wanted to point out for those of you who have been following along with the BorrowBox Live events that we've had this year, I noticed by sheer coincidence, absolutely no planning, that all of our guests this year, Leanne Moriarty, Gray McRae Burnett, Tim Logan, and Dervla McTiernan, all came to fiction writing later in life, like yourself. So I know that you had a master's in literature in the 1970s. You won a short story competition in 1986, but it wasn't until 1995 that you got published in your early 40s with Behind the Scenes at the Museum. And I just wanted to know what prompted that late career change. And was it something that you always aspired to do?
I know when I was first published, so many people said to me, "Oh, you're quite old to be first published." And I'm like, it's just, I'm not old. I think I started writing short stories for magazines in my 30s. Before that, I didn't have a career. I just did odd sorts of things. I was a home help. I taught literacy. I was a cleaner. I was all sorts of different things. And I almost consciously felt that I was putting together a writer's CV. I think that I didn't want to, I wanted more experience. And I was married and divorced and I had children. So I felt that in a way, I'd kind of done all the life stuff.
Mm.
And then, so I was ready to write. I didn't want to be writing about university. I've just finished university. Now I'm going to write a student book. And now I'm going to do this. I wanted to feel that I had a greater depth of understanding of characters, people. But
Mm.
I didn't really plan it. I don't think I do remember when I was still writing magazine stories, that I got an accountant and I said I'm a writer. And I think that was the year I earned basically nothing. And I think it was this great act of faith. I felt it was very important because I was 40 then, and I thought you have to decide. You're at a fork in the road really here. You've got to make up your mind whether this is serious.
Mm.
And I won a short story competition, and I went to the event, the prize event, with my friend, and I said, "We're looking for another agent." My story agent only did like Woman's Realm, Woman's Own, that kind of thing. Said, "I'm looking for an agent," and this agent, Judith Murdoch, came up to me and she said, "Do you have a novel in the drawer?" And because people always talk about novels in drawers, I said, "I've got 3 chapters." So she said, "Oh, give them to me, give them to me." So she took those 3 chapters, and that was behind the scenes, and
Wow.
it was auctioned off, and I just suddenly thought, I have to write it now. This is like all this time I've been thinking about this novel in my head, thinking I want to be a writer, thinking I want to be a published novelist, and suddenly it was there. I had to do it, and that was a bit of a shock. I wrote it so quickly, I think in panic more than anything. So it was a long, slow burn, and then it was very fast ignition, I think.
It's surprising what a due date can make you do. You know, like being at school or being at university, if you've got that due date, then you do it. If you've got no time, and that could be a tip for writers, perhaps, to set yourself maybe a time marker if you find that you're sort of procrastinating.
Mm. Yeah, I am a bit of a procrastinator. It's true.
Yeah.
I didn't procrastinate over that.
Well, it's good you've got the editor then on your back telling you when the next book's due. In 2004, we meet for the first time Jackson Brodie in Case Histories. And I just wondered, there might be people watching here who are perhaps familiar with your more historical works, haven't read Jackson Brodie as the crime series. And if they're not familiar, he has been in the military, he's a former cop, and now he's a private detective. Can you just share a little bit how he came to you in the first sort of moment?
I I started off case histories with two cold cases, two murders in the past. Well, no, a disappearance and a murder in the past. And I'd written quite a bit of them, really, when I realized that it would be incredibly unsatisfying for anyone, me included, if nobody actually solved those past cases. Because I hadn't really
Mm,
been thinking like that. I've been thinking, oh, here's a good story, and then here's another good story, and they kind of fit together because they're in the past. And then, um, and then I thought, well, I did the same thing. I need a detective, and everybody up to that point said to me, "You don't have any male characters, and if you do, they all die. They will die." And I'm like, "Well, okay, I'll give this a go then." And so it was it was quite odd to decide I had to try and work out, or try and be inside a man's head, really. So that's why I gave him lots of kind of watches and cars and male attributes to sort of, kind of ease myself into him. And now I feel, although, you can never be inside the head of someone else, I feel very comfortable now
mm,
writing characters. I feel particularly with Jackson, he is sort of me in a way. He is very much he has a woman's sensibility, but also he looks after women. So he's not
mm.
this macho, despite his military background and his police background, which is exactly the same, I should say, as Lee Charles Jack Reacher. Are very, very different characters.
Very different.
So I think women really like, women readers really like Jackson because I think they know that,
Mm.
if it came to it, he would be there and he would rescue them and it would be, it would be, they'd be safe in his hands.
And get
I
under
think
our skin, as he's obviously got under your skin, writing about him for such a period of time. You write sort of 4 books over a quick succession of about 6 years, and then you have this long break of 9 years, and then you come back to him.
Never meant to write four, I have to say.
Yeah, right.
I only meant to write one. And then it was so easy to write the first one, Case Histories, that I just thought, oh, I could just carry on. I'll just do another one. And
Yeah.
the second one was quite easy to write. And it was only, I got to the fourth one. I was on a 4-book contract and I thought I may as well just finish it off with another one. And that was really hard because I'd kind of, I'd sort of had my fill in a way.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's really why he took a very long gap in between. Started early, took my dog and Big Sky because I needed to refresh him in my head, I think.
Mm. And was there something in particular that made him want you to get him back on the page again for yourself and for us?
That's a good question. I think maybe it just, I'd finished, I'm just trying to think where it comes in, the canon, as they call it.
Yeah.
I think it comes after transcription. So I'd written 3 books around the war in a
Mm,
row. And they were the ones I really wanted to write, and I'd been working up to that for a long time. And I just kind of thought I needed something a bit lighter
mm.
to, as an antidote, when in fact Big Sky is by far the darkest of all of the
Yeah.
Jackson books. But I set it in Yorkshire, where I'm from, and I'm very proud Yorkshire woman. So, hello, Yorkshire. And it was just such a pleasure to be back in that environment and to feel so comfortable with him. I
Mm.
think it's very, very easy to slip into Jackson because I know him so well. It's
So
just like putting on
intimately.
terrible slippers, It's like I don't ever need to think about what he's thinking or what he's doing, really.
Yeah,
And
he's a bit of a reluctant detective. Like he doesn't often want the cases that he, is going for, but he's so curious. And it's probably his curiosity and his sense of justice that makes him pursue these, characters, even when he's kind of, he's a bit of a grump, and he can be quite pessimistic and morose at times, but he gets curious and he really wants, like you said earlier, he wants to protect people and defend people and get to the
I
truth.
think I think he worries about being bored.
Mm.
Or maybe that's just me and
Yeah,
him
yeah.
thinking. But I think he's if something just sparks his interest, then that's enough, really. And I think, and the older he's got, the more inclined he is to kind of be scared of boredom, I think.
Mm.
I mean, I think he's 10 years younger than me. So in a way, I can give him quite a lot of age-related,
Yeah, items.
and so
Yeah, well, by
uh,
book 6, he's in his 60s. So we're seeing a very, I mean, and his daughter Marley, has grown up, has a
He's
child,
got
he's a grandfather.
grandchildren.
He's
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
connect
I
with
know.
nature.
I did a crime event, Bloody Scotland, with Ian Rankin last week, and he said, "Don't you?" Because Rebus is 80,
Yeah.
unbelievable, and he said, "Don't you wish that you started with him younger, like everyone always does? They wish they'd, because now." I say, "No, actually, I quite like him getting older because, in a way, it gives him a natural end as well
Mm,
because he's going to point a bit like with, I think." I think Christie wrote Poirot's last case, and I thought it'd be quite nice to write Jackson's last case and go, okay, that's it,
yeah, right.
line under that.
Well, we
But
can
he's
look forward to that
not
one
ready
then.
yet.
But not yet. Yeah, I don't want it. I don't want it soon, Kate. I like he's got a few more cases in him, I reckon.
He's got at least one. It's more a case of what do I feel like writing, I
Mm,
think. So, I mean, I had planned, I've just finished a book that's not a Jackson book. And I was kind of like, oh, when I was touring Rook and doing events in England, people were going, "Oh, would it be another Jackson?" I'm thinking, "Nah, I've had it. I've had enough. I'm really not." But then I would lie because people may get very unhappy. So I would say, "Yeah, yeah, he's doing this, he's doing that." But then as soon as I finished this book, I thought, well, I'll just kind of just get one out quickly because I know where he is and I know what he's doing. And I thought I may as well just write this one and then I can
mm.
move away again. I do get, whenever I've written a book, I'm always just like, that's it, never writing another book again as long as I live. And then, within hours, I'm kind of thinking, oh, I could write that. So
Well,
yeah, so
Lady
he's,
Milton comes up, and then you need a detective, and you put the two together. So
yeah, and
yeah,
that's it. So
a
he's,
perfect match. Yeah.
yeah.
Obviously, you were mentioning about, being in Yorkshire. And so for the Australians and the Kiwis that are in watching, can you just describe, because Brodie has kind of moved from Cambridge, he's gone through to Leeds, he's been in Edinburgh, and then finally in book 5 and 6, he is sort of in North Yorkshire and then Yorkshire. What is it about that place? And I know that that's where you grew up, that you felt like this is where he would be able to be settled.
I well, I don't think he is very settled. I think that's part of his problem. But I think for me, it's just a joy to feel. I almost feel like I'm going home if I'm writing about not his Yorkshire. He's from West Yorkshire, which is where my father is from, which is a very different place to North Yorkshire, where I sort of feel because I'm from York, which is a very beautiful city, but he's from the post-industrial West Yorkshire, so it's a pretty grim place these
Hmm.
days. So he's kind of school of hard knocks as well, because he has this incredibly tragic backstory, which I know I burdened him with. So it was just, I don't know, it feels comfortable him being there, I
Mm.
think.
He is very comfortable, and I think, like you're saying, his feminine sensibilities mixed with this traumatic past, like he's lost his mother to cancer, his sister, was murdered.
Sister murdered, brother suicide, mother cancer, father, I'm not sure.
Yeah, where's he in all of this?
It's
I
a
mean, and
trifecta of
he's
horror.
carrying that through each of the books. That's what I love about the books, because you can read them as standalones if you want to, and you kind of do give a little bit of a glimpse and the necessary back history that we need to know about his character. But if you've read all of them, it kind of, you get a really deep appreciation of the journey that he's going through.
There's a lot of gloom in the Rook. I mean, I
Yeah.
think he's much lighter by the time he gets here. In the next book,
Mm.
I think he's going to be much, much lighter. I think he's as time has gone on and he's got further away from all this, the horror of his background. I think he's laid it to rest, I think, in many
Mm.
ways.
And he's also perhaps, I mean, there's so many fantastic females in his life. He's surrounded by interesting women. He's got his ex-wife Josie, his ex-girlfriend Julia, who he has the son Nathan with, Marley, obviously, as his daughter. And then there's this great chemistry with the fellow cop Louise and Reggie, who we meet in book 3 as a young girl, who now by book 6 is, much older, in her 20s, and is actually now in the police force herself. I mean, Reggie's just one of my favorite characters. I love that you were able to bring her back, because it's such a beautiful relationship between the two of them.
Everybody likes Reggie. It's
Mm,
interesting. Because I think she's really sparky as
mm,
well. And she is, I mean, I think in the early days it was his wife who wouldn't take any nonsense from him. And then it was Julia who wouldn't take any nonsense from
mm,
him. And to a certain extent his daughter's the same, but now Reggie really will not take any nonsense from him. So
mm,
she's always this foil to whatever she sees as being stupidity on his part, or
mm,
his annoying or irritating. So she does find him incredibly annoying, which I was it's quite interesting to write because I really like Reggie and I think she's
mm,
quite heroic as a character. But
mm.
here she is constantly criticizing the person who is supposed to be the hero of the book, the main character, but he doesn't get away with anything when Reggie's around.
No. They've got a really nice affection for each other in a very kind
They
of
do. I
familiar
mean, they
way.
do.
And she's had a traumatic past as well. So they're kind of almost bonding by these traumatic pasts, but they find in each other. I think, to me, it seems that Reggie is not someone who'll cross the line like Jackson, though. Like Jackson is willing to bend the rules, and he kind of, in previous books has covered up something if he feels like that the end is going to be okay to kind of bend those rules. And that doesn't seem to be what she is, comfortable
She
with.
does. She's not comfortable, but he does implicate her in it too. And I think
Mm,
that's one of the reasons that she gets so annoyed with him and is constantly like, right, that's it. It's over between us. I don't want to see you anymore. Is because he has forced her to go against her actual, her moral compass has been bent by having to go along with what he's done, even though she knows he's probably right. So
mm,
it's quite a complicated moral quandary that he's
mm.
put her in, I
He
think.
has. I think that's what I love about these books too, is because it's not just about the straight crime cases, be it a cold case or a case that's happening at time that's waiting to be discovered. You have these sort of multi-layered threads going through, but we also have the journey of these characters who are involved in Jackson's life, sort of traveling along with the case and how they're deciding to make decisions about the cases that they're involved with.
Yeah, well, there's always a lot of characters. He brings
Mm,
many characters with him, and people are always like, "Oh, you have so many characters in your books." And I'm like, well, I like characters, and I like
mm,
even the smallest appearance of a character. I really like to feel that they're bringing their whole story with them. So,
mm.
even if you have a walk-on part, I feel, you've got to be given due four-dimensional, five-dimensional kind of status.
I feel that they're fully realized. I mean, I said to you offline, the only Australian, you often, send your characters to New Zealand. So, the Australians here, we're trying not to get offended because the only Australian that appears in book 6 is the butler, Henderson, who is doesn't seem like a very good character, but even you can kind of picture him immediately, even though he's in it so briefly. Um, and if we get into now book 6, we're obviously here with this murder mystery weekend taking place in Yorkshire, at the place of this manor. And I have to say, I love the name, Burton Makepeace. And it's kind of known as one of the grand homes of the North. It's got a rabbit warren of rooms and they're kind of ramshackle. It's falling apart and the third longest driveway in all of UK, no less. I like there's just so many little funny quips in your writing, that kind of wry humor that just, is like a little tag on at the end. It just gave me a giggle throughout the whole time. And then we get these kind of characters that those sort of golden age characters as they've been referred to, where we've got, the dowager, the vicar, the butler, the suspicious twins,
The
all coming
major,
together.
major.
The major and the maid, and the carer. I mean, they all kind of converge so that we have this murder mystery weekend. Jackson's there at the start, kind of begrudgingly, and then we go back a week to kind of find out how and why he ends up at this place, and then we return to it at the end in this absolutely brilliant play out of the climax with a theatre troupe kind of putting on this murder weekend. For me, I'm a theatre nut, so that was I was just laughing the whole time, pretty much for the ending. Obviously, not at the violent crime bits, but the characters of just getting lost in this house. It must have just been so fun to write, like you were saying during COVID.
Well, I knew that the theatre scene happened towards the end, and I knew it was going to be funny. And in a way, that was my. You always need something that's going to pull you through a book, and usually for me, it's the end. That's kind of logical that it's the ending because I know where the ending's going, and I know I'm going to find it very satisfying. Not the act of ending, but how the ending will play out. Uh, and I knew what the ending of this was too. But I knew that the play was towards the end, and it would be funny. And I thought that was my kind of treat because it was incredibly difficult getting them all in the same place because that's what has to happen. All these different real characters, the real major, the real vicar, as opposed to
Mm,
the ones who are in the play,
mm,
the play within the play, they all have to get to Burton Makepeace in the snow. And it took me most of the book just to get them there. So I kept thinking, oh, there's another one, isn't there yet? I've got to get them all there. And once they're there, I don't have to think about it because I know what's going to be happening. They're going to be getting entangled in this play, and then that's
mm,
it. So anyway, so for me, all of the structure was about their little journeys to get them lost in the snow so that
mm.
they would end up in this place. So
It was
that
just so
was
clever as a lot, sort of a locked-in mystery. Were you deliberately wanting to kind of pay homage to a kind of Agatha Christie golden age sort of
very
romp
much, yeah,
style?
no, yeah, very much. I mean, I've loved Christie all my life. I mean, I probably started reading when I was about 10 or 11. And actually, I just put a whole load of Christie stuff into the charity shop last week because I just thought someone else, can get the pleasure from all of this.
Mm,
So, and I think she's she's so good at plotting. She hated plotting. I read somewhere in something she'd written, and she was just like, "Oh God, no, no! I have to write another book, and I have to work the plot out." And I thought, you probably think of Christine, you think, "Oh, she's great at plotting. That must be, that's her forte. That's what she does." But in fact, she's just like me because I just go, "Oh my God, I can't do this. I can't do this plot. This plot is ridiculous. Can't make it work." And I think it's kind of heartening to think that the mistress of plot was also agonizing over the same thing. And I think she's also very good at bringing people to life, I think.
mm.
I mean, it's not great literature or anything, but it's incredibly clever, I think. I think she was very clever. I think she probably wrote too many books. Maybe that's as kind of you shouldn't say that, it's a bit of heresy, but I think maybe if she'd written just a fewer, she would have because there are some duds there, and you do. I always get the sense that here's a woman who is under the cosh of her publisher, who must be going, "When's the next book, Miss Christie? When's the
Mm.
next book, Miss Christie?" And I think that really kills that creative spark, I
Mm.
think.
Do you feel that pressure, or you kind of work to your own schedule? I mean, I know with this one during COVID, I think I read that you were actually writing it at the same time as Shrines of Gaiety,
That's
which for those of you who
fascinating,
weren't
yeah.
familiar, that's the one that's set in the 1920s nightclub sort of scene. What was the reason for that? Did you kind of have that intention to be doing two at once?
They were both sort of the next book, and I couldn't really decide which was the next book. So I'd write and it was quite a relief to get away from one and write the other one because they're very, very different.
Mm,
And I love Shrines of Gates. It's one of my favorite books, but I needed to then sort of take a break and write the Jackson, and it worked quite well. But I knew there'd be a point at which I went, well, you've got to go ahead with one of them now. You can't keep doing this. And I think the one I finished first was Shrines of Gaiety. Oh, I can't even remember. And so it's quite a tricky thing to do, I have to
mm.
say. I don't think I could do it again because what I tend to do is when I'm writing one book, I'm thinking about the next one, not in a not in a focused way, but I know that at the back of my head, the other one is kind of just bubbling away.
Percolating. Mm,
Yeah, percolating. It's sort of simmering on the back burner,
mm.
and I need that. I don't know why, but I need that to be happening. So yeah, I think I just brought it forward to the front burner, maybe
And you're
just because
kind
I
of
felt
balancing.
time shifted so much during lockdown, I
Mm,
think. And it,
mm.
it had a very different quality. So I didn't actually work very hard at either of them. It was more like it was something to do, I think.
I think the real fun comes off the page. I mean, for those of you who have read it, you'll know that, there's the Reverend Simon Kate, who has lost his faith in God and then loses his voice. Ben, who's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I could see that gorgeous man, ex-army man, who's suffering from depression because he's lost his leg in battle. And you get all, and Lady Milton, I mean, she just made me laugh over and over again. And it's extraordinary to me that you have the faith in your own writing to have it sit there for, many, many years as a monologue or as a piece of work, and know that at some point you're going to include that somewhere in the future.
I think it's to do with not wasting. I think maybe a lot of the problem when you start writing is that, you cannot kill your darlings.
Mm.
You've got something that you really like and you think this is really good. This sentence is really good. It's at the heart of everything, and you can't get rid of it. I'm really good at getting rid of the things that don't work. Well, I think I'm good at getting rid of things
Mm.
that don't work. You've got to prune back, but you're not throwing them away. I have a folder on my laptop where I put everything that I've taken out because I know I'll use it. If I've got a good
Mm.
sentence, there's no way it's not going to go in another book. So I think that's maybe the way forward for people who want to prune their writing is just, keep it all.
Yeah, don't feel like you're cutting it and it's gone forever.
Yeah.
It can be reused. Is that how, because a lot of your books play around with time, there's a cold case from the past or a flashback to an incident, we're going sort of, shifting forward and back in time. Are you writing in order as we read the book, or is that kind of happening later in the editing process?
No, I'm a linear writer. Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. Um, Yeah, just trying to think if I've ever not written in a linear way. I do sometimes when I've written, I do move things around if I have to, but in a way, I know I'm going to be moving them. I think I did have
Mm.
trouble with transcription because it has two different time frames, and I could never quite work out which needed to sort of have be in the forefront,
40s or 50s.
or
Mm.
how to fit them together. But it still was linear. I think because I am always following a thread in my head, even though it's not always very apparent. Because I don't look like a very linear writer because I tend to go around the houses and, get interested in other characters and bring other things in. But actually in my head, there's a thread and it is the beginning and it is the end. And there is, you have to get there somehow.
Mm. I mean, I just have that faith. I always know somehow, even these disparate events and people, and you think, how are they all going to converge together? And
I
yet they
think that too
seem,
when I'm writing it.
but you just always get there so seamlessly, and it just always makes sense. It's just, it's so satisfying as a reader to just kind of, be in your control and know that you're going to take us on that journey. It's just so wonderful. I want to hand over to some questions now that are coming in. Please feel free to let us know any questions that you want to ask and what library you're a member of. So Rachel, who's from Haraki Library in New Zealand, says, do you think of a plot before you decide if it will be a standalone or as part of the Jackson Brodie series, or do you just start with character?
Oh no, I am writing a Jackson Brodie book, or I am not
Mm.
writing a Jackson Brodie book. I
Mm.
don't, they never get mixed up.
Mm.
It's a very clear definition in my head because they're very different. And I have realized that it's just so stupid. I haven't really thought about it before, that everything that's not a Jackson Brodie book is basically a historical
Yeah.
novel. So I now just have these two strands to my bow. And I do get asked, do you never think of writing a contemporary novel? And I'm like, well, the Jackson Brodie novels they're novels and they're
Very.
contemporary. You
Mm.
don't dismiss them as being just genre.
No.
But I would like to write something um, contemporary, but I think it would probably be trailing a lot of history with it as well. So I don't know. I haven't really got to that point
Mm.
yet.
Well, he's got his Defender car with the warming seats, like, like that's very modern.
It
Um,
is.
yeah. Molly, who's from Norwich, says you write such entertaining and insightful description of people, and I often laugh out loud at them. It makes me want to ask, with such an astute understanding of human nature, do you still find people fascinating, or more often do you find yourself knowingly smiling at their predictability?
Oh, well, that is a difficult question to answer because I don't really know how I do look at people, really. I can't, quite often with a sort of horror, kind of like, oh my, but I'm endlessly fascinated by people.
Mm,
And I've always been an observer. I've always been a voyeur. I'm an only child. I had really quite an isolated childhood. And so I've always had that step back feeling that I'm really not quite part of something, that I'm looking in at something. I mean, I always used to be like friends who had more than, who had siblings to me were absolutely fascinating, but also absolutely horrifying. I couldn't understand how you could live with all these people. So to me, it is it is the voyeur in me, I think, and I don't directly translate. I don't look at someone and think, God, I could put you in a novel. It doesn't work like that because the demands of the novel, the plot, the structure, and everything don't bend to having this one amazing character. So
mm,
there's always be traces of people that come out. I had without naming, I had a really horrendous chair of an event once, and she was just awful. And my publicist, on at least one occasion on different books, has said, "Was that in the book?" Like, it was a bit of her.
a
It was
bit,
just
a bit,
a bit of her.
just a smidge. Yeah,
No, you're
right.
not safe, but I'm never going to like go, oh,
Yeah,
here's
full on. Yeah, and name the person and the hair color and the clothing. Um, Someone from Burundara Library, which is in Victoria, says in many of your novels, the threads involve different characters and times all coming together seamlessly. How are you keeping track of those threads?
it's a good question. And I I don't start off with a plan. I don't have, written everything down, what's going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen. And I get to about 30,000 words and I panic because I don't know what's going to happen. And people always say, do you take notes? I don't know, I don't take notes as such. I might take notes if I'm, looking at a history book and taking notes from a history book, but I don't do those notes beforehand. And then I got quite severe arthritis in my thumb and I wasn't able to hold a pen. And I discovered that I did take notes. And I take notes when I get to that 30,000. Oh, I don't know what's going to happen. And I start just shaping it. So shaping it in my head, but also if I explain to you how I shape a novel at that point, you think I was mad because all I do is I write down all of the chapter headings and then I write them again and then I write them again. And that's my way of thinking is to look at what I've
Mm,
got and what I'm thinking of doing. So I'm still not going, oh, and then Jackson's going to go blah, 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 blah. It's just like Jackson's here, right?
mm.
And that it's a process that helps me think rather than anything else. There's always a point where I get out what we laughingly call in my house the big piece of paper, and then I do a kind of one of those exploding diagrams,
Like a
especially
mind
if
map.
it's a mind map, but especially if it's historical, so you can keep track of like time and so on.
Mm,
But I've just finished a book in which I didn't have my thumb. I've got my thumb back thanks to my surgeon Ramon.
mm,
But I just got in such a mess with myself not being able to do that shaping and really, really lost those threads.
mm.
I found it incredibly difficult to bring everybody back together in the book and to shape it. So I have learned a lot about my process of writing from not having a thumb, I'd say.
Well, I think
And
we're all grateful, Kate, that for Ramon, because thank you, Ramon, for giving back your thumb. I mean,
he actually gets a thanks in the new book.
yeah, right. Well, we all know now who he is, so thank goodness for that. Janine has said she loved behind the scenes at the museum so much, and I'm wondering what's a top book that you've read in the past year?
The top book I've read.
Yeah, like a favorite book that you've read in the past year.
Oh, do you know, I'm so awful because I forget everything. I forget
Mm,
titles. I mean, I'm quite sure I have read an absolutely brilliant book this year and
mm,
completely forgotten it. I've really liked the last two William Boyds. I don't think the new one's out yet, but the Gabriel Moon books. And I love Mick Herron's Slow Horses. Do you get Slow Horses?
yeah, we
And,
do.
I
Yeah.
love the books. I think they're great. I've read a huge amount of Jane Austen in the last 12 months because we have the big anniversary.
Of course,
So I've
150.
I've done quite a few things for that. So I've had to
Mhm.
be on top of my Austen in a way that I wasn't as I was a student. That was kind of quite challenging as I kept thinking, I'm going to look really stupid if I don't know these books inside out. So it
Well,
was
she's
it,
witty and you're witty. It's like it's a marriage made in heaven, I think.
I mean, she is brilliant. There's,
So
and
brilliant.
also when you go back to the books again and you're taking them to bits in your head, you just think, wow, how did she do that with a quill? You
Mm.
know,
Well,
it's so
yeah, even practically. Well, what
fantastic.
would have happened if she had a sore thumb? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. She would not have had Ramon.
Yes, would have had remorse. Isabel also says behind the scenes at the museum is one of my. It's funny, this that book endures,
It
right back
really
30
does.
years ago.
It
Have you
really
found that
does.
your writing process has changed over 30 years of writing, or are you kind of this process that you're talking about has stayed the same over the 30
I'm not
years?
sure. I mean, it's a long time ago for me to cast
Mm,
my mind back, but I that book had an emotional heft. I thought I
mm,
was writing quite emotionally.
mm,
And I don't think I do now. I'm much more aware of the more intellectual elements of putting a book together, the structure and so on. So, but a book that doesn't have an emotional, I can't write a book that I don't have an emotional connection to. I just
mm,
think I had a lot of emotional connection behind the scenes. And I think it was because, I spent a long time not writing that book, thinking about that book when it came to fruition, it was quite an emotional thing to write it. So I'm not really that not so much the internal emotional content, but the sense that someone wanted me to write a novel. That was
mm,
to me that was a big thing. I won the Woman's Own short story competition, I think '86, and it was the first thing I'd written that wasn't autobiographical. It was just a story, about people I made up.
mm,
And one, and I remember the editor or the fiction editor, I'm not sure who, phoning me up and getting the phone call. And that was at the end of the year when I'd got the accountant but didn't earn any money, basically. And
mm,
I got the phone call, and it was probably the best moment in my life. I mean, I know my children think I should say it was them being born, but really, I think it was the best moment in my life because it was the validation of someone saying, you can write, you
mm.
can do this. And
Someone
I think
believed in you.
yeah, so actually making the book deal for behind the scenes was a much less thrilling thing than that winning the Woman's Own Short Story competition. Um, so I'm not sure what the question was, but behind the scenes, I write differently now, definitely.
Mm,
And I think a lot of that is to do with word processing. I mean, I did behind the scenes was written with word processing, but
mm,
in a way it was not very sophisticated. Then the internet was not sophisticated. So I do spend more time it's great to be able to research on the internet as opposed to, having to go to the reference library and ask for books and get them sent off. And I mean, I've spent many, many laborious hours in reference libraries.
mm.
Sorry, all of you librarians.
Yeah. They're very helpful. They're very helpful. Um,
God,
Peter actually says you have an extraordinary use of vocabulary. Whenever I use a dictionary to look up a word with which I'm not familiar, I am always impressed with how you have used it for its accurate context rather than just trying to impress using a new word for the sake of it.
that's a good compliment.
Oh, I love that compliment. Are you thinking about writing, and perhaps this comes later in a later editing process at the sentence level, or is that actually happening in your first draft?
No, I don't really have a first draft. I edit as I go along,
Okay.
so everything's edited, and then it'll be edited the next day, and that sentence will be edited for 100 times in the course of the book. So
Mm,
it's kind of a so I'm never happy until I know that the sentence is right and the
mm,
word is right. I do spend a lot of time in the thesaurus, I have to say, because I'm always looking for just the right word, which
mm,
doesn't necessarily come automatically to me. So I think for me, I mean, it's not even like how I'm thinking about the reader. For me, it's really important to have that sentence working really well and
mm,
all the words being in the right place. I don't like to waste a sentence.
mm. There is nothing wasted, and yet everything's fully, it's so vivid in your mind. Like your writing is so vivid to me that I can see it. Jane has just mentioned and said, I'm glad you mentioned Jack Reacher, as the main character of another long series of novels. And as a fan of crime fiction, I sometimes feel disappointed When the author misses or forgets aspects of the main character or gets facts about them wrong, it's almost a jolting moment. What do you do to maintain the continuity of your recurring characters, particularly as many of your readers possibly, are reading them and know them intimately?
Oh, I don't do anything. I just presume that I know them and I've got it right. I mean, I will look back. I mean, I will
Mm,
look up because sometimes I think, oh, have I said that before? Has he done that before? Does he
mm,
have that? Does he?
mm.
And there again, word processing is wonderful because you can just do a word search and find that out. But on the whole, I mean, I may well have got things wrong about him. I may well have lost some continuity, but I
That's the
don't.
editor's job, isn't it? To pick that
I
up.
don't think they do that.
Oh, they don't.
I don't think they remember.
I'd love to be your continuity editor. They have a continuity editor in TV shows and
Yeah,
films.
yeah,
And
yeah.
my
No,
husband's really good at picking if things are, not continuing in the same way. So, I mean, that's a career he should have done in another life if he was like
yeah.
Ursula,
Another life,
perhaps.
yeah, yeah.
Um, is the term Lady Milton mentions for men very unsafe in taxis something you made up or that came up in research? It conveys so much in just 4 words. I love how people
So
are really interested with your really at the sentence level.
not safe in taxes, or safe in taxes. Safe in taxes as it
Mm.
means that you're homosexual, that you're with a gay man, basically.
Mm.
So not safe in taxes, and that they're not. So that was one of the shorthands
I just
for.
thought he wasn't a sleaze bag. I'm glad that I
Yeah.
learned that now. Yeah, I've never heard that.
I
Maybe
think it's
that's Gen. Maybe I, as a Gen X, don't know. Is that maybe that's a
a
baby
very English. Oh,
term?
it's a very much a thing of its time. It's a very
Yeah,
historical.
yeah.
I don't think you'd ever hear anyone say that now,
No, I
ever.
love it. And she would definitely say that. Say this. Lady Milton is living in a world of her own. I mean, a
I love
hilarious world for us, but she's just
it.
living, yeah, in a delusion.
I really, truly love her. My American editor loves Lady Milton, and she's always
Yeah.
quoting one line that Lady Milton has.
Yeah.
She's going, "One does not open one's own front door."
Poor Ben, who's not even working for her, has kind
I
of
think
become like a quasi butler. Like he just keeps opening that door and he loves the role. He kind of relishes and it kind of lifts him out of his depression for a while. I think it's fabulous. Um, another question here by Eve. P.D. James, another great writer, is quoted as saying all fiction is largely autobiographical. Is that a sentiment you agree with? They're from Melton Library in Victoria, Australia.
it's it's a it's an odd thing, isn't it? Because I always think, well, okay, everything has to be autobiographical
Mm,
because it's coming from my brain. So it is me that's writing this. So in that sense, there's a kind of, it's you. But on the other hand, I am making these stories up. And I think everyone presumed at the beginning that behind the scenes was autobiographical. Uh, and I was really keen to write another novel so that people would stop presuming that my life was Ruby Langlis's life, because
mm,
there were a lot of things in there that probably related to my life and my family's life, but not in that direct sort of way. I wasn't telling the story of my family, and the plot was certainly nothing to do with me. I did always feel that I'd had a twin, so I always felt there was a twin died in the womb. So that was
mm.
very strong sense. I remember meeting Jacqueline Wilson for the first time. She grabbed hold of me and said, "You think you had a twin in the womb, didn't you?" I do too. Then it's an odd feeling. You've got this shadow with you all the time that you should have had.
Mm.
And I think that was a very strong thing in behind the scenes for me. But well, I don't. What was the question? Sorry, I can't
Um,
remember.
yeah, I think you answered it, so that's fine.
Okay.
Natasha McNamara at Kent, in the UK, I assume. Uh, what's your top tip for a later in life first time novelist?
I think do the pruning thing,
Mm,
kill your
mm,
darlings. But
mm,
I think just to have supreme faith in yourself. If you think you're a good writer, then you might be the only person who believes that in the beginning. So I think you have to have this kind of weird, it's not egotistical, it's just certainty that that novel is coming from somewhere good.
mm. Mary
Slightly.
Ellen just asked that it's the same advice, not as I think she's younger, but she just says advice for emerging writers. It is probably about that confidence in yourself, isn't it? And then just someone kind of giving you an opportunity. I think that that's kind of, you put something out there and you hope someone's going to resonate with it.
I don't think it's, there's a lot of creative writing degrees that people do, and as you're doing them, you're writing the novel that you are going to present basically to a publisher.
Mm,
And from what I've heard, you have all people are interested in a way is getting an agent, getting a publisher, that's that end thing. And I
mm,
think you have to take a step back from that and just think, I want to write something good. Because
mm.
I think very few good novels linger in a slush pile. I think if you've written something really good, it will
Rise
come
to
to
the
the
top.
forefront.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. Controversial question from Diane. Austen or Bronte?
Austen.
There. No question. There you go. You got your answer. There wasn't even a discussion. Joan, a question probably I would also like to know. Will we see Reggie again? Thank you, Joan, for asking that question.
Well, Jackson, to my surprise, because I thought I was done with him for a while, he's gone on a cruise for
Oh, of
I mean, he hates the whole idea of cruising. So it's
course.
for him to be on a cruise. And he's actually taken Reggie with him because she's convalescing with something. I can't decide what she's had, whether she's had long COVID or something. And so she needs the sea air. So he's decided that she will be the perfect companion for a
Two of
cruise, which
them. I can only
I really
imagine.
not.
I wonder because I've heard that you love trains. So I always wondered whether we were going to get kind of like an Orient Express train journey for Brody, where he'd be
Well,
locked in on a
you may
train.
do that. I have a completely different train novel. It's the one that's simmering on my back burner, which I thought was
Mm,
going to be my next one, which is called The Great Wonder of the North, which is
mm,
about the first passenger train journey, which is being celebrated in this country now a lot. 1825 was the first Stockton to Darlington train journey that carried people. And the book was going to be about that. But now I think I've always said, and I've said this probably for 30 years, I want to write a book that's basically about railways and poison. And so I
mm,
think I have to expand the railway book to take in the poison. So it may actually carry, because York, where I come from, is a great, important railway city. And it also had a great fraud at the center of it, which was George Hudson, who's called the Railway King, but as actually was just, a rogue. I thought, I need to go forward in time and include him in this. I love trains. The
mm,
idea that I will get to research steam trains to me is just so exciting. So in a way, that's my big treat that will come
mm,
eventually. I hope. I mean, fingers crossed.
mm.
So that would be my train book.
Sounds amazing. And imagine all the perks you could get and declare it as research. Like that would just be amazing.
I've already been on the Orange Express, so it's a bit.
Okay. Well, there's another trip somewhere that you could take. 200 years on that journey. That sounds amazing. There's a nice little scoop for people listening of what's coming up next. I know we've had a few questions of saying what's coming up next. Catherine says Jason Isaacs is such a brilliant narrator of the audiobooks. I actually went back and reread or listened to all of the audiobooks. And for those of you who aren't familiar with BorrowBox, if you're a member of your library, which you can get the free app, all of Kate's books are exclusively on the BorrowBox app. Jason Isaacs narrates books 5 and 6, Big Sky and The Rook. Hey, is that something that you have welcomed to have your books turned into other, kind
Do
of
you,
mediums?
um, so have you had the TV version of Case Histories, the BBC
We
Case
have
History?
got season 2. We
Yeah.
get it through Apple TV streaming here in
Oh, right,
Australia.
okay.
I don't
Well,
know
because
about
he
New
was,
Zealand.
they
And
did the
Life
first,
After Life as well. We've had.
yeah,
Yep.
they did the first 4 seasons quite not very well, I'll
Mm,
say that, of Case Histories, and of course Jason is Jackson in that,
mm,
so he wasn't going to let anyone else narrate. I don't think those audiobooks. The first four are abridged. It's only the last two that are not abridged, and there's constant talks with him. Will he narrate the unabridged? And he's like, "Oh my God, I don't know, I can't have the time. It's going to take so much time." So it'd be nice. I mean, they do plan, I think, to do the unabridged. So it's nice that he did both
mm.
because he does it really well. He makes a
His
great
voice
Jackson.
is of Lady Milton, be it men or women or different. I mean, there's a lot of class distinctions in this in the Rook as well. You know, I mean, you've
That's true. Yeah.
certainly given a person a challenge with all the accents they have to do.
Yes,
I think
he
he
did. He was cursing. He actually emailed me in the middle of it, cursing me.
well, you know, he's an actor and he has to take on the
Yeah,
job.
that's his job. That's his
Yeah,
job.
that's
That's what
right.
I said. It's
Yeah,
your
but
job.
he does it so well. I mean, I thought Lady Milton, the way he brought her to life was just hilarious. You know, like just perfect. Yeah, even though it's like you're a female writer writing Jackson and he's a male actor bringing Lady Milton to life. There's kind of this sort of nice flow and synergy. Um, just going to another question here. Trish says, Life After Life is one of my favorite books ever. What was your inspiration for the plot? And they're a member of Milton Keynes Library in UK, if you know where that is, Kate, because I have to
I
say
do
I
know where
do
that
not.
is.
And there was someone else that was saying, Amanda also said that they loved Life After Life and had you always planned to continue it with God in Ruins? So just two questions
Yes,
about those books.
I'd when I was round about the third or fourth Jackson book, I thought after this I'm going to do my war book because I always wanted to, for a long time, wanted to write a book about the Blitz, and so I was kind of using that time to do research, but also knowing that was what I was going to be writing, but I also knew that God in Ruins had to come with it, as it were, so that it would always be the next book. Because it made it easier to write Teddy as a character, to know that he would come back in the God in Ruins. So they were always meant to be. I know. They were always meant to be together, those two books, and it was. I was so pleased that I actually managed to write Life After Life because I just thought this is what I really wanted to write. But also, I knew that God in Ruins was going to be probably the best book I would ever write. So,
Mm.
and that was those two together. That was a very powerful writing experience because there's so much death and horror in
Mm.
both of those books that it's, novelists love death and horror, but
Mm.
it was real death and horror. So you have to really think about how you're treating it and how you're writing it and be incredibly and honor it and respect it. So it was, for me, both books were very moving experiences,
Mm.
but also very easy to write as well. So
I mean,
that's
it's
all.
so moving to read. And I think, you know, a lot of people, it just resonates with people, sort of the waves of life. It kind of rolls, you know, you with Ursula, you kind of, you know, she's living and then, you know, returning and sort of, you know, it's that circle as it talks
What
about.
made it so easy to write? Because people always go, "Oh, it must have been incredibly good." And no, that is the easiest book I've ever written because it
Mm,
had just such a great pattern. She lives, she
mm,
dies, she lives, she dies.
mm,
There's no,
mm.
it was like waves. You're right.
It's a beautiful rhythm to it. And apart from the fact that I'm also a big believer in deja vu, I mean, you know, and I think, and a few other people that I've talked about it with, you know, it kind of summons up to be able to talk about those sort of deja vu
Mm.
moments you've had. But with the brother, that beautiful sibling relationship, and it's interesting because you don't have siblings, and yet you're talking about such a beautiful sibling connection there, and you kind of am almost glad when you get to a God in Ruins that you you get to have a moment with that family together again. Yeah,
Oh God, I mean, I love Fox Corner. There's nobody doesn't. Everybody wants to live in Fox Corner in
of
1910.
course.
That is the
Well,
perfect.
we don't want to go to Burton Makepeace, that's for sure. I mean, we'd A, get lost or the roof might crumble.
True.
Kristen says, I love your characters. They're even the characters that are somewhat dark. And what other sources do you use? They're from Norwood Library in Adelaide, South Australia, and a wonderful library to be sure. Thanks for telling us, Kristen. Um, you said that you're not drawing them from people. How are these characters coming to you?
Don't know. Don't know.
Mm.
It's magic.
The secret.
I I no, it's completely baffling.
It's the secret
I
to you. Yeah.
uh, I love character, so
Mm,
I think that's a really good starting point. Is that I love
mm,
characters,
mm,
and whenever I start writing a character, they're just there, instantly there, and I do not understand how. I mean, I really don't understand how. I
mm,
don't do a lot of description. I don't do a lot of, and she had short brown hair, and she
mm.
was, 5'2", and I don't do much of that at all. It's just trying to get just this kind of feel of them. I don't
Feel.
know. I
Oh,
just,
I
yeah,
felt that Ben was hot. That definitely I felt Ben
that's
was
good.
hot.
That's good because he was meant to be. That's good. But he's not described, apart from the fact he's only got one leg. He's,
He's not, but he was really good looking. Like, because his
And
mum
Jackson,
says, "Oh, you've still got a beautiful
Jackson,
face,"
yeah, you still got your face. Jackson is never described. There's not a
Don't
single
have.
hair on Jackson's head that's ever described.
Well, I can see him so clearly in my head though, and it's not Jason Isaacs, even though I love him as that character. That's fine, but um, it's weird how you do summon a kind of look with you and Reggie, like I just, small petite, I don't know, it's just interesting. Carla asks, how involved are you in the screen adaptations of any of your works? I mean, you just talked about Life After Life as a screen.
No, Life After Life, not at all. I mean, well, I was, gave approval to the writer and that, but
Mm,
that was shot during COVID, so it was just a very remote thing. I did a webinar for the table read, and so I never spoke to any of them. It was very, I mean, they did say, "Do you want a set visit?" And I just thought, I can't even imagine how difficult that would be at the height of COVID. So,
oh,
so
I know,
that
Kate.
that not so much. The scripts for case histories, I shouldn't really talk them down, but I do feel that I should have. I did get to comment, and I did get to,
Mhm.
but I think
Does it
with
make you
with
more
hindsight,
precious
I would have
about
been more.
Does it make you more precious about future books that are perhaps in the works or would be getting
Not
approached to be in the
really. I think
works?
I'm much more attuned to who will be good at
Okay.
doing something, I
Hmm.
think. It's difficult. It's very hard, I think,
Hmm. It's a different
Um,
medium. Tim Winton, who's a famous Australian writer here, a brilliant author. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
no, no, he's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, he has talked about how he releases the book and it becomes something else because it is a different medium. It kind of
Yeah.
the story's the base, but how that's interpreted by other artists, he
I
kind of
think,
has no
yeah,
control over.
I think you can't become, it's a different medium. You're giving it to someone to do something different with. And
Mm,
although you might be going, no, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't say that. Why are you doing
mm,
that?
mm,
Nevertheless, that's their prerogative, really, I think. And if
mm.
they make a mess of it, they make a mess of it. It doesn't necessarily reflect badly on you, I don't think.
No, well, Life After Life, there were so many quotes directly from the book. I mean, it was beautiful.
I
I
know.
would
I
actually
did
be
say,
interested
yeah,
in a radio play. Have you ever had a radio play of one of your books?
uh, behind the scenes is a radio play. They've just redone it, actually,
Oh,
for the
right.
second time. And I think they do, hmm, not an actual play, I don't think. I know they're
Mm,
doing transcription at the moment, but I don't think it's a play. I just think it's maybe like a book at bedtime or something. I don't
okay.
know.
Susan asking another question, probably a lot of fans wanting to know, will we see Louise back in a future Jackson Brodie book? She gets a
Question.
little smidge of a mention in book 6.
Yes, a bit of a mention in Big Sky.
I love the chemistry between
Oh yeah,
these
of course
two.
she said death at she's in the Rook at the end.
Yeah, she's the chief superintendent. That's
Yeah,
sort of, the
yeah.
boss of Reggie. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
I
I have
love their
thought about that.
chemistry, Kate. Oh,
I
it's
don't,
fire.
I'm just not sure how to bring her back, really.
She got to get
I don't
divorced or
know.
something.
She's already divorced.
Maybe she could be on the cruise. I don't know. Like, I love her. Because she's again another strong woman. I love the strong women
Hmm.
in these books. There's so many of them. It's great. Um, Last question, and then we're going to do the hot seat challenge, which those of
Uh,
you who've been watching the BorrowBox lives, you'll know that we'd like to finish with the hot seat challenge. And Kate has said she is up for the challenge. So uh,
frightened,
continuing,
frightened but
she's
willing.
frightened, but she is
I've
continuing
already
to
done
do this.
Austin Bronte, so
Yeah, that's it. Um, Emma says, oh, actually, an interesting personal quick. Kerry says, what an interesting ring. Is there a story behind it?
My godparents were antique dealers, and they were always finding bits and bobs in drawers of furniture. And they had I don't think I've got it here. They had a rock with opal in it, so it's probably Australian. And I had the rock for all my life since I was very small because they gave it to me. And when I was 50, I thought I'm going to get that made into a ring for my 50th. So it's actually inside. You'll never see that because I can't see it. It's engraved with my name and my date of birth because I used to have a very, very old cameo ring that had the same in, and I used to always think, who was that person? Anyway, so I had it. Took me ages to find someone to cut the opal because no one wants to cut opal. It's so soft. And the shape means nothing. That was the shape in the rock. I lost it last year for a year, which was absolutely traumatic to me, and then found it again. So thank you. Yes, I could talk forever about
Someone's
my ring.
noticed. There you go. Little details.
I'm
Um,
sure it's Australian.
yeah. Well, there you go. We get a mention, and not just Henderson, the butler. Um, Emma says, "Are there any plans to follow up A God in Ruins?" Obviously, you said
No,
before it's a oh no, done.
no,
No more
no.
Todd family. Yeah,
Oh, I'd love to, but
yeah.
no, it would
No,
almost be
it's
like
complete.
self-indulgent.
It does. It
Yeah.
feels complete. Yeah.
Mm.
All right, we're going to do the hot seat challenge now. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, we've still got more questions, but sorry, we're just running out of time. An hour's gone by like a flash. Um, so we have 20 questions in 5 minutes.
Empty. Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's going to be rapid fire.
Okay, I'll do my
Whatever
best. I'm not
whatever
very good
occurs
at
to you
Okay.
off the cuff. We'll see if you can get them all done. I'm not sure. I'm not going to really ring a bell or anything, but if it was Lady Milton, she'd probably get someone else to ring the bell. So yeah.
Or never rings one's own bell.
It never rings one's own bell. Like you don't answer the door. Ben, if I had a gorgeous Ben, then he could be ringing the bell. Number one, morning person or night owl?
Morning.
Favorite place to write?
My study, the room next door to this one.
Oh, nice. Do you listen to music or silence when you write?
Both. Sometimes music is very distracting. Other times I'm listening to music.
Are you listening
Both.
to Kate Bush? Because I know Kate Bush is quoted in the
Sometimes.
yeah, the Rook.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Is it songs with words or is it
A lot of classical. That's
classical?
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who is the first person you show your completed first draft to?
My younger daughter,
Oh, interesting.
the one who was the arm, the
Yeah,
IT
the
arm.
yeah,
To
well,
fix things.
very important. She knows how to get it off the computer. What is your snack of choice while you're writing? Are you a savory or a sweet person?
I'm going to sound so moral, but I don't snack.
Kate, well, there. You're very disciplined.
If
Very.
coffee counts as a snack, then coffee.
Well, the next question, what's your favorite drink while you're writing?
Coffee.
Yeah. And is it different
Tea. No,
afterwards?
coffee and tea. Coffee and tea. Coffee
Coffee,
and tea.
tea,
No
coffee, tea.
alcohol when I'm writing.
Yeah.
No, just
And
coffee or
do
tea.
you have something different when you've actually completed the book?
Do I drink something different, did you
Yeah,
say?
like, a celebration drink.
Oh yeah, we'll have a glass of, we had a glass of champagne on Saturday because we finished the next book.
Nice. Nice feeling. Just to let
Hmm.
go, get the bubbles going. What was your favorite book that you loved as a child?
Probably the E. Nesbit books, Five Children in It,
Mm.
but also Alice in Wonderland and Wind in the Willows, all of the children's classics,
I know
fairy
you can
stories.
see this. This is Alice right there. It's like
Oh,
it's the whole first chapter done is the image with the words.
all right.
Can you see that?
It's not clear in focus, but I
Yes,
know that 'cause
sorry.
I've got one of those for something
Yeah,
else. Yeah.
yeah, they're beautiful. Going down the rabbit hole. I feel like we've been down a rabbit hole today, which is great. The book you return to again and again.
Well, probably Austen. I probably reread
Mm.
Austen more than anybody else, and
Hmm.
probably Persuasion,
Mm. Would you prefer to visit the future or the past?
the past,
Mm.
definitely.
Yeah, I feel like that was already a no-brainer for you. Uh, what's your favorite book to screen or stage adaptation? Not of your own work, of something else.
Oh, well, we've talked about it before, Slow Horses. I think the
Ah,
books are
yeah,
great,
yeah,
and I think the TV adaptation is just
mm,
absolutely catches that. So
yeah.
yeah, I think that the
A lot of
adaptation.
McCarran fans have been pleased with that adaptation.
Mhm.
What's your favorite smell?
Well, that's not a snap question because I have a terrible sense of smell, but I have a fantastic smell because
Mm.
memory and smell are very closely related. So some of the my favorite smells are smells from the past, and one of them is going to sound disgusting, but we used to live in Stonegate across from the Punch Bowl in a very, very old pub, and my father used to take me in there in the morning, like when it was, after hours, obviously. And the smell of stale beer and stale cigarettes to me is very, very resonant. I mean, if I
Wow,
smelt it now, I'd be disgusted. But when I conjure up that smell, it's just the past. I'm 4 years old. I'm 5 years old.
that is really cute. Um, What is the sound or noise that you love?
I don't like noise. I'm very sensitive to noise,
What?
but I would say, okay, bird song.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I've really got into birds since I moved to this new house. What is the sound or noise that you hate? Just generally noise then.
Children.
Yeah. Gosh, don't,
Sorry,
you might
but
sound like you might be like Eda Blyton there, Kate. That's not
that's my teeth on edge.
right. There's no grandchildren coming over screaming at your house. Okay. Are you a collector of anything apart from a beautiful ring?
No, I don't think I am. I'm just trying to think if I have anything, not really.
Hmm.
I like pretty things. I like
Hmm.
beautiful things.
I like that
But
wallpaper. That's so pretty behind you.
I've got even better. I should take you on a kind of a tour of the house, but
Oh, I'd love it. Yeah, we can do that another time, Kate. We'll have a
uh,
date.
yes,
Um, who was your childhood celebrity crush?
childhood celebrity crush.
Mm.
I didn't really have celebrities when I was a child.
No, I know. Yeah. The 60s were a
Oh,
letdown, but there was a lot of like singer honeys or something, like
there
maybe
were a
Cassidy.
lot
Is that too late for you? Or
too late for me. I would say Jagger is my era.
oh,
Yeah, he was a very beautiful man.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, we know the vintage now. What superpower would you love to have?
I think, well, if going back in time is a superpower, that is
Yeah,
definitely the superpower I
that's
would have.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with time travel. Like, put me in a machine and I'll
Mhm.
go there. My husband's very upset because he says then I'd be happy to leave him, but if I'm the chosen one, I have to do it. So, you know, we can go together. What skill do you have that might surprise us?
Well, not so much anymore, but I used to be quite a good needlewoman. I just spent a lot of time, doing patchwork and embroidery and sewing. I used to make all around clothes and all of that,
No.
but it's just for fun.
Well, Ramon's got you back, so maybe you can pick it up again. That's good. What's your bucket list travel destination?
I, to be honest, I think I have fulfilled my bucket list travel destinations. Indeed, my bucket list in general, because I've been to Japan, which was amazing, and I've been to the Antarctic, which was beyond amazing. I have always wanted to go to China, but I'm not sure now how I would feel about that, all that
Mm,
noise. Um, I don't, yeah, I mean, if you said to me one place, I would say China, but really, I think the Antarctic was always the pinnacle of where I wanted to go. So,
beautiful.
you know,
And how fortunate you are that you have fulfilled a lot of your bucket travel list. I mean, that's a beautiful thing to
yeah.
say, at this point in your life. Um, Best writing advice you ever received?
Um, on the radio, a radio interview with Anne Fine that I was listening to when I was still writing stories, and it was Women's Hour, and they were, oh, Miss Fine, you must write so much in a day, you must get that. And she just said, a good day is a good sentence, and that's it. And I thought that has been my mantra ever since.
Well,
A
there's
good day
another
is a
writing tip for the writing group that said that
writing
they were
sentence.
listening
Yeah,
in. Yeah.
indeed. Yeah.
And the emerging writers. If you could play a character from any of your books, who would it be? This is the
I
last
could play
question.
a character.
Yeah.
Oh, Lady Milton. I love Lady
Oh,
Milton.
yeah. For her for a day, how fun would it be? And it'd be so fun. It would be absolutely a riot. Imagine you could just boss everyone around and yeah, it would be good just for a day. Cool. Well,
No longer.
you have completed the hot seat challenge, Kate.
Great, thank you.
Bucket list ticked. I know that that was on your life mantra there as well, that you just felt like you had to do it. So you have succeeded and joined now the esteemed group of hot seat challenge authors that have been part of this BorrowBox Live. Um, that's it, everyone. I just want to say thank you to everyone that has been watching and submitting questions
Thank
and
you.
comments.
It's
There's
fun.
so
Yeah.
many that we have not been able to get to. I think there's like nearly 200. It's ridiculous. I don't think we got through all of them, but I want to thank everyone for their time. I want to really thank also Ema at RCW Lit Agency and to Ben at Penguin Random House, my colleague Cassie, who's been working behind the scenes, And to you, Kate, for just being so generous with your
Oh, it's a
time
pleasure.
and your stories and your advice. It's just been an absolute thrill to have read you so
Yeah,
long ago and then to be speaking to you now. What a delight for all of us.
it's been great. It's been really good fun. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Just a reminder, everyone, that you can listen to or read the ebooks on the BorrowBox app that you can get for free as a download. And with your library membership number, you can access all of Kate's books. They're exclusively on the BorrowBox app. I know you'll enjoy listening to them like I have, or reading them perhaps as an ebook. And just remember that we are now going to be coming to you next year for another BorrowBox live series. This is the last one for this year. It has been an absolute pleasure having all of you in my lounge room, and I look forward to who we're going to be talking to next year. So make sure to ask your libraries who is going to be on the radar from March onwards. And thank you. It's good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.